And I took the Loving Communications workshop last November in '94. And one of the things that really impresses me about it is that I have taken many workshops, many seminars. I was very active in the human potential movement, the personal growth movement. I've taken, of course, individual therapy and been in support groups and done long, extensive trainings in communication skills. And what this course offers that I don't find in others is a beautiful combination and collection. It's a synthesis of some of the very best. They are powerful, they're useful, they're simple, and by powerful I mean you can feel them in your body. When you use the tools, you know you're different or that you're creating a different effect than you usually do. And you can see the different response in the people around you. And they're useful in the sense that when you leave, you can apply them immediately, whether it's with yourself in the car driving away from the workshop, or with your dog when you get home, or with your spouse or clients or friends or neighbors or whoever. You can use them quickly. It's not like esoteric techniques that, well, in a couple of months this situation may come up and I may, I'll pull out this technique at that time. You can use them right now. And they're simple, so simple that you can achieve mastery. You can get really good at these in a very short period of time.
Well, as I look back over the past year and try to think of maybe what shift has happened for me because of using the LC work and understanding the LC principles and working with that, it's really hard to say that it was one thing, because it's been so many things and so many facets of my life. It's affected my business, it's affected my relationships with friends, it's affected relationship with the intimate people in my life, with children, and kind of across the board.
But what I like about the LC tool seems to be a way in which they cut very quickly to the heart of the matter, to the place with the maximum potential for dramatic change, for a place where some of the important stuff shows up quickly. Some of the same things that might happen in psychoanalysis in 20 years can happen in one evening.
It's simple. You can move through your issues and within hours be a totally transformed person.
Always in the past, I believe that the longer you're with somebody, certainly watching my parents, love grew less. People grew distant, more remote. What I've experienced using these tools is that we grow deeper, we grow more in love than ever, having used these tools.
What we noticed was that any little unspoken truth, for instance, what I really think about you, that we would sit on and not speak for fear of rocking the other one's boat, would end up resulting in a loss of passion between us and a loss of that sense of gratitude for the relationship. Over time, of course, we learned to polish and refine the timing of how we would, and the technique of how we would deliver these so-called withholds.
So the conflict was, number one, if you didn't speak something to your partner, to my partner in this case, you had a problem of a withhold and you had a stuck energy. On the other hand, if I did speak that particular insult or withhold or fearful thing that I had going on in my mind, then I would probably hurt her feelings and I'd have lost, that much intimacy. So the question was how to communicate and resolve and complete it so that we could actually get back to a closer harmony.
It shifted everything around in our relationship, and we can now stay together. We can have the conflicts that come up in our relationship as not blowing the relationship out of the water, but as something that just occurs in the relationship that passes through, and we get to the other side and we can still be together.
So if you're in the in-love stage, don't listen to this, because you don't need this. You won't have any need for it whatsoever when the love and the passion and the energy is automatic and effortless. But maybe put this into your VCR when that's over. And if you're anything like the people that I work with, it will be over in 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years. And you'll find yourself wondering where that person you fell in love with went, or at least where that experience of love and passion went, And this is one method by which you can recreate that for yourself on a regular basis.
And now to change hats and speak as a transpersonal psychological counselor, one of the concerns is always, okay, we've had this really good interaction here and there's been some insights and there's been some release and healing, but now what are you going to do when you get out there and are living your life and interacting with people when the rubber meets the road, so to speak? And these tools are so easily taught, and if they can be practiced right there in the session, and then the person can take them to whoever they're around and educate them. So these tools lend themselves very well to building community, to building support systems, to building friendship groups, and really deepening relationships and increasing the love and harmony that's trying to happen.
In the past, I have spent a lot of my time and energy and studies to try and understand how the human mind works. And as director of a residential treatment center for 8.5 years, I had a wonderful laboratory there to do that with. But now what I found with the loving communication tools is that I can find out how my mind and my emotions work, and I can track them with the tools. And I find that very powerful and very exciting.
It has been an essential part of our business to employ the techniques I learned through LC to help go through the different personnel conflicts that businesses always have. And it has been amazing the turnarounds I'll have in literally 10 minutes.
Something I'd really like people to know is that there really is a matrix or a dynamic or an underlying moving forces in the world of emotion. There really is something happening there, something trying to happen. And what we have found is that when we can cooperate with what's trying to happen, then we find that our emotions are our opportunities. And we actually can have our emotions empower us and have those situations which used to be those which we would avoid at any cost actually become the doorways through which we gain new sense of self and new freedoms.
I was diagnosed with a hiatal hernia and reflux, and was told that the only thing that would work would be to take these pills forever. And of course, I knew that there was some naturopathic way to approach it, but I was really excited at the possibility of applying the loving communication tools. So I was looking, what's the emotion, what's the belief that's behind it? And I had really thought that it was anger. There was a lot of tightness here, and it was pushing up. I could hardly breathe. And then nothing, even though I released anger, I didn't get a physical release. But at one point, I released a lot of sadness. I got in touch with some deep sadness about a particular issue. And in the moment when I was crying, I felt a total release. And this came back after a couple of days, but not as severely. And again, I got in touch with an issue with a lot of sadness, released it, and it went away, and I haven't had it since. And that's about 6 months ago, now 6 or 9 months ago.
When my mother, after my father did die, and my mother was standing over the bed and she was weeping, I think before I would have not known what to do. I would have been embarrassed. I would have been, I would have had to leave. Or I would have maybe said, don't cry, which people say all the time when people are crying. And instead I was able to put my arm around her and say, it's okay.
Yeah, that was really...
That would have never
wonderful.
happened. That never would have happened if it wasn't for the workshop.
When you get a bit of understanding on something, it can be really dramatic. The aha experience where somebody suddenly sees the whole picture, and getting the sense that in seeing that, in understanding that, you're not only helping yourself, but in some really profound way, you're helping to change the preceding generations and generations to come. It's like you're changing the basic understanding, the basic perception that we all have of how it works, and it begins to feel like you're participating in the evolution of consciousness.
I lived in Hawaii for 9 years, and I ran a community. And the stumbling stumbling block, the key element in any sort of a community is communication. That's where things either make it or break it. That's where things fall apart. LC gives me the finest communication tools and techniques that I've ever encountered. My belief is, based on this experience, that any community would benefit tremendously from the LC tools.
In my opinion, these principles actually come from the next paradigm, from the next evolution of where we're all headed.
I feel this work is so beneficial because it has the missing link, what we've all been looking for. We just want to be heard.
The more you use it, the more it becomes part of your being.
Try it, you like it.
Okay.
For her, it's like magic. It's very, very exciting to me. This work is tremendously exciting.
They can resolve conflict without anyone having to take the blame.
What the loving communications does is it provides a link that takes it from the theoretical, from the abstract, into a day-to-day reality.
To the degree that I'm willing to stick with the principles, that I haven't had anything that hasn't cleared up yet. And sometimes it takes time and perseverance.
It kind of expands exponentially to use the tools. As the principles are installed, then you just move up, keep moving up major levels.
My client relationships have improved markedly because I am able to navigate through my own and their emotional states through using these tools.
The shift that it makes is something that is irreplaceable.
The bottom line is, I've been all over the world traveling. I've investigated countless systems, and this has been the most useful thing that I've encountered so far.
And these tools do a wonderful job of increasing confidence. You learn you can deal with conflict resolution.
That these principles are universal. They hold and probably have always held and have a lot to do with what it is to be human. So that somebody happened on them at a certain time is just that the world was ready for it at that time.
I really encourage everyone to give this a go. It's incredible work. It's life transforming. It's a natural high.